There we go.
Action.
Hey,
Action.
Darren, you really have to fix that graphic. It's all like blurry and staticky and stuff.
It's just bad reception.
That's like something like your dad would say or something like your grandpa. Yeah. I tried to watch you guys, but that thing's all blurring and
we're just we're all this real estate today.
I know. Just stretch
right out. Where's everybody?
Yeah. What's happening?
We Shane and Brent are they're I think they're doing like a mob dance scene at the mall or something like that. That would be
mob, yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
No, they're both busy, so it's Skeleton Crew today, which will be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Because I just don't get enough chance to talk. So
well, today's your day, Todd.
Well, we had to do it without Shane and Brent because they're always so chatty.
Yes, that's true.
You never get a word in with those guys.
Yes,
I know. Yeah. They're in the penalty box. 2 minutes.
Well, today's kind of a different day too because we're actually not live today, right? Because
we're recording. Yeah, because
as you guys are seeing this, Brent and Todd have some work obligations that we couldn't do it on this day, so we pre-recorded it.
It's basically like us in like those vests on the side of the road picking up garbage. It's community service.
Let's make some predictions to see if we're right in 2 weeks. Like, let's see, if we can read the future here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now in 2 weeks, let's make. What do you think? Some sort of.
Hey, I can't believe that UFO landed in New York City. That was crazy, right?
That'd be an amazing prediction.
Now, if that happens, and Greg Godovich, if you're watching, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
We know.
Well, I guess it's not all that unidentified if we actually see it and it lands. We're definitely identifying it.
That's right.
Wasn't there something that somebody posted online that happened in LA that they were having a tough time deciding whether or not it was real? I mean,
obviously, that was in Florida, was it? Or
was it?
Or
Maybe I don't know.
Was it in California?
Which some kind of UFO thing?
Well,
some lights in the sky.
The best, computer, whatever analysts look at it and to see if it was obviously photoshopped. And I guess half the people were on the fence as to whether or not it was real and, whatever. But I figure, I guess if it was real, it probably would have been something that we'd all have heard about. So,
yeah,
it's getting harder and harder to I can't imagine how crazy it's going to be 20, 30 years from now, as far as CGI and stuff like that goes. My wife and I are at that point in lockdown where it's like, you want to watch just like the Marvel movies in chronological order? Okay, press one. You just sit there, and it's like, so every night we kind of sit down to eat and we put on a movie, and you're watching like, I don't know when I'm trying to think when Iron Man came out or whatever, but we're talking like at least 10, 15, almost, probably not 15, but somewhere years ago. So you're watching CGI kind of like chronologically, and as the budgets get bigger and bigger, it's just starting to blow your mind but there is funny how like you can go back and watch early CGI and start to go, nah, you know what I mean?
I was just going to say, like, I think it was on, I don't know where I stumbled on. I'm thinking, remember the movie Clash of the Titans?
Yes.
And when
that was terrible.
It was like, and then at the time you're like, oh my God, this flying Pegasus and this Medusa, it just seems so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Try watching that now. It's painful.
Same as the Greatest American Hero flying scenes.
Yeah.
That's pretty hard to watch.
I love those things.
I love both. I love Greatest American Hero and Clash of the Titans as a kid. So
we had those attachments. We just before we did all this, we started talking about all the old formats of 8-tracks and CDs and cassettes. How there's a sort of a romantic attachment to these things. That it's the same with the TV shows we watch. I've been like watching Space 1999, an English sci-fi show, which is like, it's borderline ridiculous that I'm sitting watching it, but I'm like, I just watched it as a kid, so I'm just kind of romantically like, this is so cool. But like, you're like, what passes for special effects at certain phases? We have to kind of, have a certain amount of suspended disbelief that sometimes in this day and age for kids who are growing up on stuff, it's like, no, 100% that robot is there. It's real, or that monster, or that dinosaur, whatever it is. It's like, so in 10 years from now, I'm just like, well, eventually it's just going to be like, why even hire actors? Just CGI them in.
It used to be like, they couldn't do the CGI effects back in the day. So they'd have the axe on one frame, and then it would go out of frame, and you hear the sound, and that was even because you had to use your imagination of what just happened, right?
Right, right.
So that was almost more effective than actually seeing it now, the way they do show that kind of stuff.
You worked in that for a minute, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yep, doing 3D animation, CG effects, and that sort of stuff. And
crazy.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Imagine if Corey never got the call from Shania, he would have been going down that road. He would have been at Skywalker Ranch right now, working for Star Wars.
Well, I got to go to Skywalker Ranch as a result of being with Shania, because we went through San Francisco with the tour, and I called up their public relations person. I said, "Hey, you want some tickets to the Shania Twain concert?"
That's the way to do it.
I'll trade you for a tour of Skywalker Ranch. So we all went, and
well done.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Name dropping. Oh,
yeah,
I know. That's how you do it.
You got to use it, you know?
Yeah, totally. When you got it.
Look who's here.
Oh, look out. Surprise.
All right.
Okay. Hi, sorry. We take back all the shit talking we were just doing.
Yeah, no.
Just kidding.
You all right?
Nobody predicted that. We just, out of nowhere.
Sorry, you were doing the late shift, were you?
Well, I've been staying up pretty late, but Chrissy takes the dogs in at noon every day. It's or 11:30. Well, our dog has to have injections. You pet owners, understand when the dog gets old or a cat gets old, it's all these new things you have to deal with. Anyway, when the dogs leave, they just bark the whole time until Chrissy gets home.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And there's nothing I can do. So they're barking in the background, and I'm just like, I can't scold them because they just miss their mom. But three dogs, as opposed to one dog barking, is terrible. So I was just about to pull the plug because I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and just have you guys listen to barking, but I can mute.
My dogs hate the vacuum, so when I bring out the vacuum, any barking that happens stops immediately. And
that's
really
hilarious.
We don't abuse our dogs with the vacuum cleaner; they just hate it. Well, Yoda in particular, and Maz barks because Yoda barks. So if Yoda stops, Maz stops.
Right. One of
I'm
those.
lucky.
Funny how the pack
dogs are pretty good with the barking. They only bark if somebody's at the door. Other than that, they're just
exactly.
hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on. Well,
so we're actually recording right as we speak, Brent. So we should waste no more time and bring on our guest.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sounds good.
Todd, I'll leave it to you to do the intro.
Hang on 2 seconds because I wanted to look this up because make sure I've got my.
Because you forgot who it was.
No, no, I'm actually so curious about the year on this because I was actually I had to double check it like 10 times to go like, have they really been around like together this long?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, in multiple different versions.
1990.
1990.
That's the date you're looking for. Yeah.
31 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind blowing. Anyway,
and still together to this day.
And well, 4 of them out of the 5 are still together.
Right.
It's. I can't wait to dig into that. But this is I've known these guys. They opened for us way back when they first started out. So and then like 10 minutes later, we're like a million times bigger than we ever could be. But this is from a really great band that did really great business. We're talking Junos. We're talking International Love. He's got great side projects. The alternative country thing he does is really rad. From Finger 11, James Black. Yeah.
Hey. Welcome, James.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Where you calling from today? Are you in Toronto?
Yeah, calling from Toronto. Yeah. I was getting giddy listening to you guys talking about Star Wars because that is probably the bit like I'm alpha geek about Star Wars. That's for sure.
Look right there, James. See?
I see.
I've got a bunch of junk around here. Corey's got a bunch of stuff too.
Yeah, but you know what? I had to clean up my studio yesterday. I did this a bit of a video shoot here where we couldn't have any Star Wars things in the shot.
Oh, okay.
If you can imagine. So it's the only thing I have is a poster of Star Wars that wasn't in the frame of the camera. And then I just put my Kylo Ren mask back there. But otherwise, everything's in my closet right now. I got to put it back out. But
what is that for trademark reasons?
Yeah.
Just copyright and licensing and have advertising and behind me.
What was the video for? Can you talk about it?
I can't talk about that right now, but it was pretty cool. It's like a proper like video.
If he's making a video or a movie and he lives in the Valley of in Los Angeles, you can only imagine the movies he's making around there.
I'm starting my solo project, so. I can't talk about it right now.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, just no Star Wars
No, so starting there, James, I mean, that's what blows my mind the most, I think, is because, you know, I first met you guys. I don't know if you remember opening for Age of Electric back in the day.
For sure.
But yeah, you guys were like on fire, and there was a lot of love for you guys and a lot of heat on you guys. And we loved you guys. You know, we were like, you know,
yeah, that was a good, like just a good time to be doing it. Like there was a good, like you say, there was some real love of just like, you know, it was fun to hang out, and it was awesome to be like, it was sort of like the wave of live music in Canada. It was a crest of it.
It was amazing.
Part of it. I mean, in the beginning it wasn't, but we were. I don't know. I guess I don't really know any other way of life than that way. But it was. It was a fucking blast. Like my memory is dog shit, but I remember everything about that, like the Age of Electric, all that, like even the videos, like the look of those videos, it just made an impression that it just sort of, I don't know, it set a lot of tone for, like, I guess us as a band, me as a musician, all that shit. It was
well. Can you, in 75 words or less, just kind of talk about how much you love Age of Electric? Just kidding. 75 words or less. Yeah. No. I mean, honestly, it's like, you know, we knew the heat coming off you guys even back then, and it was a totally different thing. I mean, you guys were kind of like a totally different band when you know, kind of. I mean, it sort of morphed into and grew into Finger 11, but it was essentially the four of you, a different drummer at the time. But the fact that the four of you have been together since 90, I'm assuming that's all like in high school together, right?
Yeah, it actually was junior high where me and Scott first met, and it was kind of a bitter, for no reason, but a bitter rivalry, because he was sort of like the cock of the walk. Like he was a popular guy in the school, and I don't know why it bugged me, because I wasn't that, I guess. And I was like considerably smaller, and like just on the playground that I would never stand a chance to confront him, but never balked at the opportunity to do it, and just kept getting in his face. And eventually it was music that we both, like Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, stuff like that we instantly bonded, and like never looked back. But it was like really young, grade 7, grade 8 kind of thing.
Wow. Was he a jock or something, or was
he was sort of like a drama jock. Like he was, I don't even know. I don't even remember. He just was not like an awkward little guy, and that's what I was. So it was like this sort of like, I don't know. Yeah. He just seemed like a bigger presence on campus kind of thing, you know, as just a kid in school.
As a proper front man should be, I suppose.
I guess,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's why they're front men.
And it's kind of worked out that like he was a drummer. He was learning how to play drums in that era when we first met. So we met, like we came to a friendship about records, Jethro Tull, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, stuff like that. And then he was learning to play drums, so it was like I'd bring my guitar over and we just get through like a verse of a Zeppelin song and a verse of a Rush song, and just do it over and over and over again. And it just, like, we wanted to make something musical, and like while we were pursuing that, we signed up to play an acoustic song in front of the whole school, like him singing and me just playing the guitar. And we kind of like, it was like we played this Guns N' Roses song, Patience, and it was just the two of us, and we did it, and it went really well. But in our minds, he was pursuing rock and roll drumming, and so we had started with this entity that, like, it's like, oh, it was right there. We just didn't look at it for a while because he was playing drums, but it was always really about music, and it sounds like a cheesy romantic thing, but really it forged a real like a language for us that we still, I don't know, we just understand each other through the music, I guess, of what we like and what we like. When you hear something, you can instantly know which of your friends is going to like it. Sort of like, oh, you've got to hear this song. So like, yeah, it's cool. We just have that sort of like pinpoint musical language together. But
that's awesome. I mean, most people don't even know anybody from 7th grade anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I take that for granted on top of all the rest of it. And then, so Scott's brother is the bass player, Sean. So,
right.
Like really just going over to his house, and we were tinkering around making music. Sean was learning bass, and like we were absorbing his record collection because he was like, I think he's like maybe 4 years older. So he had this like a little bit more mature taste, a little more into music, and it just spilled over us as like, so we met in this musical sense, and then all this like in our mind advanced music from his older brother was hitting us at the same time then, and it just it was awesome. So, but there was never the notion of like Sean playing bass with me and Scott. Like that was a whole other, he was pursuing it over here, and it just was all destined to come together, but it just took a while to be there. And then our drummer, we should have known the first gig, the day before, he wanted to pull out of it, and he just said like, I really don't want to do it. And Rick paid him a case of beer to do it.
That's good. That's good bread.
Yeah. So it like
or Canadian currency. That's what that is.
Yeah, it's Canadian currency for sure. Yeah.
Right off the bat, there was like this guy. He wasn't all in. It was just, we should have known right away. But it took a bit of touring for him to kind of come clean and go like, I don't like this. And we were at the same time, we're just celebrating and go like, what? You like, I couldn't fathom not loving it. Like, you know, out on the road when it, like, there wasn't even cell phones. There wasn't internet. It was, you were really off the leash.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't get more fun. And he didn't like that. It was like, oh, okay, this is not a great tearing of the fabric of our band. This is just like, oh, you don't like that? Okay. We'll find somebody who does. So
remember that back then, the guy in the passenger seat with the map open, kind of like trying to figure out.
But when you heard him describe it, it sounded like, I guess when you're on the road for a long time, there is the worst day, and you can describe it like that, where you're sleeping on the floor of the van and it's cold and it sucks and all that. But even that, like, you know, a week later, it's going to be a great story. So just his whole perspective of like, it was accurate. Like, yeah, I guess touring does suck if you don't like being crammed in a van with your best friends and like just suffering for it because it's fucking rock and roll and like all that.
Yeah.
Like in some ways you're young and dumb enough to believe that stuff, and in a way it's fucking real. Like the spirit of rock and roll. If you're like, we know now when we get together, it's something happens, you know. What else is it but the spirit of rock and roll, I guess?
Well, that's the fascinating thing to me, is it's like, not only are you, it'd be one thing if you guys played like, I don't know, like we play, you know, hockey every weekend together, the guys that went to school, and we, you know, everybody's getting married and having children and whatever ends up happening. But the fact that you guys are like, you know, it's like when you watch U2 or something like that. U2, I think, was like, they put themselves together before they even really played. It was kind of like, well, I'll play guitar, you know, that kind of thing. And you're like, but the fact that someone could do that and then turn it into a successful model that goes on to be something else. And it probably says something about the fact that you guys went through that kind of stuff and had to kind of have that baptism in snow, not necessarily fire, to kind of have that, you know, that thing. Because there's always going to be that guy who has an option. My dad's auto dealership or my, you know, I can go to school or whatever it is. And you're always going to lose those guys because those guys aren't pirates. You know, not everybody's a pirate. Yeah.
I think in a way we lucked out that we all happened to have the option of university when we won a radio contest, and all of a sudden we got a record deal and the option was there. Like,
Right.
in a way, we were all set to go on the safe route, and thankfully, like, our parents were cool with the idea of like this is rare that this other path comes, like, go do it. But it wasn't like I don't know, I guess I guess to your point, like, if somebody always wanted to be a scholar and a student, then yeah, they were never going to do it. But we were, I guess, we were almost saved from having normal lives, really.
Seems like that radio contest in Southern Ontario. I mean, a lot of bands, especially even a lot of guys that we've had on the show here. I mean, it seems like so many of them, that's how they launched. I mean, just goes to
Honeymoon
show
Suite
you how.
did that.
Yeah, like, and I mean, I think we were mentioning it, you know, a number of other bands that did the same thing, and it's amazing how radio played such an important factor back then, you know. And we're talking about things in nostalgia, and it's just, you know, that was, what year would that have been?
It was like it was a focal point, like there's one station in the region, and everyone who's listening is listening to that one thing. So the idea that like our song was going to play on that radio station is in relation to the contest, like, it was like, it just seemed so enormous. And I guess compared to nowadays where it's so scattered, maybe it was like, you know, it's a kind of big deal that's hard to do anymore, like, because people don't really give a shit about radio as much as like playlists and
streams and shit like that. Yeah,
which is awesome. It's amazing. It's just much more music. But now there isn't that like kind of lighthouse thing that everyone listens to every night. And I don't know.
It is weird. What station was it? Was it?
It was 97.7 Hits FM.
Was that out of St. Catharines?
Yeah.
That's such a great station, man. Like, that was like the.
Oh, it was like the, like, where you could hear the. Yeah, it was awesome. It was just like straight up, like guitar rock all day, pretty much.
Is it now former?
I don't know. I don't listen to the radio much. I love Spotify, so that's where I go.
Me too.
I know.
Yeah.
It's such a
I'm
different
sure,
time.
like, a lot of stations probably had to, you know, obviously there's been so many format changes with a lot of them, you know, and you know, just that's sign of the times, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, especially early 90s. I mean, that was kind of like the, you know, you're coming out of one and entering into another, and, you know, there's you know, definitely a lot of those stations have done a lot.
I think they even in maybe in trying to keep up, they consolidated. So you used to tune in for a DJ because you liked that DJ's taste, and for that hour you would you could kind of identify with the character of like, oh, this guy's gonna show me some new shit because I like his taste. And in order to keep up, they went big, and that meant like every station's playing the same thing. So the personality of the DJs isn't there, and it's not regional anymore. It's not really, I don't know. It's out of touch with itself, I think, in order to compete with like at home, absolute custom music. It's sort of, it's a losing battle in a way. Not like, if anyone on the call is involved with radio, we still want to be on the radio. So
of course,
don't take it as a slight.
No, but you're not wrong, because the 90s were such an interesting high watermark for Canadian rock. At least like you guys, the funny thing is Corey and Brent were both pretty much in the US during the entire weird. It was funny because I was talking to somebody like several years ago now, but I remember talking about an Edgefest tour and like, you know, who was on the bill. And in the moment when I was talking about it, every single band was broken up. So, you know, whether you're talking about the Tea Party or I Mother Earth or Moist, the Matthew Good Band, you know, all these different things. And every one of them at that moment when I was talking about, all of them were gone except Finger 11, which I thought was really an interesting thing to say. Was like, you know, Age of Electric, everybody was doing other things, broken up. Some of them, Tea Party, are back together. Moist does stuff. I Mother Earth does stuff. But, you know, but you guys, it's never like you guys had to do a reunion thing or a nostalgia run. It's like you just keep going. No.
We just took a long time to do anything, so we're sort of really living a short career in slow motion.
That's all spread out.
So Like you think about like how fast the Beatles or some like the greatest bands in history made like the most life-changing records and like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But we take 5-7 years to do that.
Right, and you've also had other
And
projects
not
on
even
the-
and like not even get close to the bar that I'm talking about. But
Still, it's
no, like I think kind of that cheesy stuff I was talking about, where our relationships are stitched in with the music and like even the love of doing it. Like I think what makes us take a long time to put a record out is like we don't take a long time to make a lot of music. We just the fun of making music is one thing, and when we do it, it's amazing. It's its own reward. It's sort of like, oh, that was awesome. And so sometimes you get like we could go to a cottage and have like the time of our lives and jam a bunch of stuff, and then when you're removed from it, you listen to it, like the good time memory is there, but the songs by themselves removed from that collective joy is like, this is kind of lame or whatever. Like there's a difference. And
Yeah.
so I think the reason that our longevity as far as taking a long time to make music is trying to have a good time, and the song is awesome separate from that. And
Sure.
it takes more beer, more weed, longer cottage trips to do that. So over time, you know, we just learned we just have to keep at it. We just have to keep like, you know,
You're giving
like,
away the formula here.
yeah, it's like, but it's persistent, but it's relaxing at the same time. I don't know. It's hard to describe, and it sounds like some lazy stoners justifying not doing much, and maybe it is.
Hey,
No.
James,
Well, whatever you did, it worked. So
Yeah.
James,
Like
I wanted to ask, speaking of beer, do you remember going to the Rainbow? And I think I took you guys on a night on the town, and it was right before a showcase. Maybe not your first gig in LA, or maybe when you guys played.
Yeah, it would have been early. Yeah, if it was the Viper gig, that was probably the first time. That was probably the first time we went to LA because we never played it since then.
And I got to say that you guys were pretty focused moving into, you know, that big city with, you know, all the opportunity there. And even though you guys were out to, you know, have a little fun, but I remember how
were we very sober that night? Because we had like there was a stretch of time where like and this is awesome because it was a reflection of our angst of like, so the grayest of blue skies, I think it was, or maybe somewhere in the middle between Tip and grayest of blue skies. It was heavy and serious. And the tours that we were on, like the one, I think it was either Somersault or Edgefest that had like Perfect Circle and Foo Fighters and Smashing Pumpkins, was like the fucking A-est of A games.
Mm-hmm.
So we, in our angst, we're having a fucking bone dry tour as well. Like we're gonna be sober and we're gonna play, and like we're gonna impress the living shit out of Maynard James Keenan and everything. Like and so we just basically like tortured ourselves. Like I think we probably did play better the whole tour, but we tortured ourselves until like the last 3 gigs, and we were like, all right, guys, we proved we could do it. Now let's fucking try to tear it up. But we did occasionally go through like moments where we called all of ourselves like, all right, let's go do a sober stretch because we know we can just fucking go off the handle.
That's so funny, and everybody just goes along with whoever.
Oh
calls
well,
them?
I don't think we could do it now. We were still like really we just looked for ways that we could take it more serious, just to like
Sure.
we want to do this and we want to compete at like yeah, we want to do more gigs with the AA level stuff. So like it sort of it worked in just that it showed us we had a solidarity and we didn't ever, I don't know, in a subconscious way, like you never wanted to go sneak off and do some weird fucking drugs with a bunch of people because you knew that the rest of the band, the collective, has a sort of like stopgate about like, I don't know, keeping things in check, I guess.
That's so cool.
So,
I mean,
I think the mutual respect of that, like it sort of kept us all in a weird alignment, even though like nobody ever said like don't do this. Like everyone was like go fucking do everything you want. But
Right.
like we all, I don't know, sort of like kept ourselves in check in a way. So you might have seen us in a rare sober moment, but you couldn't even come close to doing that anymore. Especially now, if we ever got to go back on the tour, like I would fight you if you said there was no beer and no whiskey. there ought to be double because it's like last year's beer and whiskey we still got to get.
Yeah, exactly. You get that rider plus your new rider. Yeah, okay, I got you. Great idea.
What was the gig that you guys played together? Did you do a bunch or just like one off together, or what was it?
What was that? Age of Electric?
Yeah.
Well, we did some like some
Didn't we do
outdoors.
like a bunch of them?
We did a bunch, but when we did it, it was before they were even called Finger 11, and they were just these young kids that had this whole thing going on, and
no,
were
that
really
was
happy.
the Butt Monkey.
That was Rainbow
played
Butt
with you
Monkeys.
guys, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that early.
Yeah,
I-
it was
you know
very
what I-
early on.
I always will remember that we were with you guys when Lady Diana died.
Oh wow.
Wow, really? I don't remember that.
Kurt Dahl.
When was that?
Just
94?
Kurt Dahl sort of
97.
like
95?
97. 97.
What did Kurt do?
he just like he kind of greeted everyone that came in the bar with like Lady Diana died. Hey Lady Diana. Like, it was just sort of like this repetitive town crier that it was awesome.
He
Like,
was
you know,
social
that's
media
pretty much-
before social media.
That's pretty much the best description of Kurt Dahl I've ever heard.
Like,
Repetitive town crier.
Totally.
hey, Lady Diana died.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And then the next one, like, it was newsworthy. He was right.
Yeah, he was just letting everybody know. Yeah. That he is still insane.
He's such a good drummer. I like
Every
the
time
wildness of it.
every time Kurt Dahl opens his mouth, you never know what's going to come out. So that's kind of why I just kind of like put a quarter in him and just let him go. And the older he gets, the less filter there is. So you're like, okay, let's do.
That's the thing. Like, you realize the older that you get, you're kind of saving up for like, I don't know what age, but everyone's got an age where they go, all right, I'm grumpy old man now, and I'm letting it. I've earned it. Now I'm letting it loose, and I'm allowed, and people are gonna get up and give me their seat on the fucking bus and all that shit. Like we're all storing it up. We're like, is it 80? Is it 70? When are we just going to become entitled
Awful.
old
Just become
assholes?
terrible. Yeah. Where's my cheap meal at Denny's? Come on.
So tell us about your Blackie
ahead.
Jackett country project. I mean, that seems like a completely different shift from Finger 11, right?
Yeah, I think that's really where it was born from, was that it was like, in a way, it was territory that we could explore, that we knew we weren't going to like hijack it. And like, there was other things me and Rick worked on that ended up, we would kind of throw it into the Finger 11 pile because it was sort of ended up being, oddly enough, in the same sphere, but country seemed like free and clear of that. Like, if we make a good country song, we won't think to put it into Finger 11 pot. It'll just be its own thing.
And it's not like the Nashville country now that, is like bro country. It's definitively country, what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's ironic because we thought, like, in my mind, like the kind of country that I like is like original Nashville country, like old school, and
Rebel country.
I'm not really a country fan. I'm just someone who likes like kind of old country, and the songs that we write, it's a good, there's a great humor to country. So I like it as a vessel, but like, I thought we were doing Nashville, and then we went down to make a Finger 11 record in Nashville, and we sort of shared some country and looked around at what was going on. And guys like Sturgill Simpson, that like, he's on the outs with Nashville. So like, he's a badass, and he sounds like what we're like badass, what country should be. And right. Nashville doesn't like him. Like, maybe Nashville's not the place. And the more we learn about, it's just really, it's not cool country Nashville. It's just country, the name of it. In a way, in there's awesome stuff, but the pursuit of doing it that way, ironically, we were like, oh, you know what? In my heart, we're more country being up here in Canada, listening to like classic records than trying to go to Nashville and make it into country thing. It's
well, if you went that route, there'd be some producer that would come in and it would take your thing and turn it into some sort of like,
you'd never write your own song again.
And you probably wouldn't. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be writing it, unfortunately.
I think, like, of course, there's pursuits to, like, if you want to play in the big game, you probably have to go that route and have some famous, like, some famous something along the equation. And I think what we liked about it from the beginning was, like, it wasn't going to touch any of that, because the whole thing is a fuck you to even doing it. Like, like the songs are designed to be able to play them drunk and do them well, because the like band is country song. Yeah, the band is an excuse for me and Rick to drink together at one, like at the impetus of it. We had been on the road for years and years, and we got a break, and me and Rick literally invented a country band so that we could go to our buddy's house and drink every Wednesday and live like we were on the road. And like, as long as we had a song to show for it, the wives were fine with it. Right. So
it was productive. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we ended up, like, after a while, I was like, this is actually pretty good. And then, so we put out a record, and like, I think maybe even 10 years went by, and then we made another one. And like, I think this time maybe 5 years will go by and we'll make another one. But it's so free of, like, the pressure of anything, but also like, everyone involved is capable of that level. It's just not worried about that, you know. Like I don't know, it's a unique thing to be a part of, because it was supposed to just be me and Rick fucking around, and then it turned into a band. And in a band, you sort of start to become, hopefully, a fan of the people in the band. Like Jimmy Reed, the lead guitar player, like, he's phenomenal. Like, just watching him play, it's like, this guy should not be playing lead guitar in Blackie Jackett Jr. Like, he should be So and
in Nashville,
Sandra D as well. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's awesome, because what started as something, it was supposed to just be a separate, isolated thing, and now it's a group. And now there's like, it's sort of, once we're allowed to all get back together, it's like, it's a fortified reason to get together to get drunk. Because now there's 4 people. It's not as desperate as me and Rick.
So that being said, are you guys doing the virtual thing? Are you guys still doing the writing, or how are you?
You know what? We haven't really, like, Finger 11 has had some stuff that luckily we started before the lockdown, and we've been able to, like, slowly get a couple of songs close to finish. Like, really, we're looking get a new record deal and put a bunch of like a whole new campaign, a whole bunch of new good quality rock and roll music is ready to go now. But just getting it that last 90%, like, it's just hard to coordinate now. But and then, like, if we did, I don't know if we're in a rush to put something out right now. If you can't go out and play concerts, it's it's kind of a heartbreak. Haven't quite cracked that one yet. Like, we've seen some simulcast concerts, and I feel like a Grinch. Like, I have zero interest in watching something like that. Like, it's not a concert. Like, you can't smell everybody and be sticky and like stale beer, all of it. Like, it's I don't know. So yeah, I've been working on some visuals for some Finger 11 stuff, some animation stuff, and here and there writing some Blackie Jackett songs. But
you've always been involved in the visual aspect, haven't you?
For sure. Yeah. And, like, early on, I just assumed it was a part of the thing. Like, I think as a kid, I thought the band made the album cover and all that stuff. Like, I didn't even get the idea. So, like, the Beatles Revolver, like I said about the 8-track earlier before the show, like, that record, when I finally saw the vinyl and saw the artwork that big, and just, like, I thought the guys who made the music made that artwork, and I was like, these guys are like I'm little, but these guys are clearly like fucking alien masterminds. This is
right. Yeah.
So as time went on, and like there was great bands that came along, but then a very distinct band like Tool, it just stood out, and you found out like, oh, they were very responsible for their own image.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of seemed a given to me, like, if we get a shot, we gotta like see if we can be in charge of that. Otherwise, like you see a lot of bands that end up looking the same, and like so are we. We're just fucking white guys in black t-shirts playing this. But I know, not to be too cynical, but like I don't know. It's part of the, like, my favorite rock and roll has a cool look to it as well as the rest, right? Like,
right.
It is clearly superficial, but it's part of it, I think. Like David Bowie is cooler because he had costumes. Doesn't mean the music by itself, if you were blind, it's still fucking amazing. Yeah. But it's made cooler because it's an expression. So that always struck
marketing and branding, right?
Yeah, it always struck me as like, we got to be involved in that, or use that as our part of our voice, or it's kind of a waste. And that doesn't say it's any good. It's just kind of acknowledging that that's part of the language of it. And
when you when you're talking about animation, what kind of animation skills do you have?
It's like very basic, just self-taught stuff, like just, you know, from watching documentaries about how they make cartoons.
Like hand-drawn stuff or computer stuff, or
hand-drawn stuff that's layered on a Photoshop. And so I'll just almost like it's a marionette. Like I just kind of adjust the parts and take it.
Like kind of like South Park kind of animation. Yeah,
and then run it in iMovie. Make them all like really, really short, and they just sequence together like an animation. Cool. Yeah, like Monty Python is a good example of the style. But so yeah, I made you could see Finger 11. Not Going to Be Afraid, that video on YouTube. That's some animation that I worked on with a friend of mine. So it's simple, like it's kind of in the pursuit of, like, you remember the old Spider-Man that was like maybe 2 frames and he would slide across like that. Like, like I don't have the budget or the resources to do something fluid like anime or something. So it's sort of the opposite, like simple, but really trying to tell a story. So yeah, that's where in my visual world, that's sort of where I've gotten to, is I'm trying to make stories instead of just like a album cover, like I don't know, telling a story is harder than showing someone a single picture, because I don't know, you have to manipulate in order to get the punch where you want it to be. And it's a cool, I don't know, it's like finding out a whole new language, now that I'm like 45 years old. It's like,
have you ever done anything like that for anybody else? Like, as any other artist, have you done art for?
I did a handful of videos in the very beginning when I first directed something. It was they were both for somebody else. And so that was a really cool experience too. It's sort of biting off way more than I could chew, and sort of like, as soon as you promise somebody else something, it becomes like a different equation, right? Like
I know.
If I want to dick around, that's fine. If me and my best friends want to dick around, that's fine. But as soon as you get someone else involved and money involved, then all of a sudden it's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's like, yet again, it's another like adrenalized way to create, where I don't know, it's cool to keep finding those and it not being just kind of stuck in one thing. Like I could easily just be a rock and roll guitar player, and that's awesome too, but like, I don't know, it opens too many avenues to not go poking around. And ultimately,
back to the CD artwork, did you do that as well when you were talking about
usually I'm very much involved in various degrees. Like the self-titled one that had one thing, that was all like I handmade all that stuff, and then the other ones were sort of directed concept, and in like the Grace of Blue Skies was kind of like mapped out in black and white, and just like, here, do a color oil painting of this. So a lot of the last one was awesome because I reached out to an artist who does Dungeons and Dragons modules.
No way.
And I pitched him this idea and was like it would just be badass if he did so we customized this scenario with this giant knight and a giant hammer lying on the beach and stuff. So yeah, it was cool that's been another avenue that I kind of resisted, probably for the reason I was talking about earlier. Like, I wanted so bad to do everything myself that the idea of reaching out to another artist to do my idea, I always was at odds with that.
Right.
But then I think Life Turns Electric was the one where like it happened and it was so much cooler than what I was ever going to try to do. That was like, oh, this is even better. Like, I don't even have to do anything. I just have an idea and then have an opinion about how it turns out. It's like, all right, I see that. It's sort of the Andy Warhol version of art where you like just get a bunch of creative people to do it and then say like, yeah, that's cool. That, throw it in the garbage. That's cool. so yeah, there's a difference, I suppose, with directing and actually executing. But I don't know. Yeah, there's new Finger 11, so my thinking cap is on with that. How to do something.
That's great.
Yeah, like the idea of like me and my buddy Rich, we kind of want to pitch this to some band where
we're a band.
Like we make a movie. we make a movie that's just by its nature has like maybe like 10 distinct, I don't know what, like scenes or locations. So when it comes time to put your record out, you can, if you want to, you can track by track, you have a difference. So you can kind of take our movie and cut it into a campaign for your record, a concept that you can pitch forward. But the same footage in our order will be a film that we intend to do. So like, and then you film the band, say in two different scenarios, and then you just make all the content for a whole album campaign out of this thing. So it's like the filmmakers get to make their final product how they want to, and the band gets to choose from like some pretty well cultivated, awesome footage that's art directed with everything in mind. So like, I haven't found a good way to pitch that yet, but that kind of idea of like, it's not a concept album, but the artwork is a concept of how to release song by song.
That's really interesting.
But then I wonder if it's all like, is that an old school? Like, do people even give a shit about that anymore? Is it just an MP3 on a screen? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It has created a whole other conversation now that, you know, making a music video is more like just a thing you put on YouTube and hope people will, you know, get some streams off it. It's
I know what they say though. You only hear from the ones that watch it. So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you could easily do nothing and get nothing. So I think that mentality is there.
It's also the innovation of the medium. Like, what's that band? OK Go? How they sort of made those like homemade concept be so
totally
genius. Like, I'm surprised they haven't come up with one for these like split screen.
Oh yeah,
like, Zoom. Like everyone's confined to Zoom, and then someone's got to make a video that just like is mind blowing about. Holy fuck! How did they work that out?
Exactly.
Maybe we're having a great pitch meeting right now.
I think we are. I think somebody's watching this right now, stealing all your ideas.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Someone's doing it right now.
I wanted to ask you about.
We've got 2 weeks to execute it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
It's fun. Like
in the band. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just I'm talking like I haven't really talked to grown-ups in
Well, we're not really grown-ups.
You haven't.
Nobody
has. Yeah.
It's me and my 6-year-old day after day after day.
That's what happens. Yeah. And when you start to talk to other adults, you're like, so have you seen this children's show? Like, Paw Patrol or something?
It's all coming out. Yeah.
You really have no idea what to talk about. No, I wanted to ask you about the writing process because the fact that 4 guys have remained together, 5 for quite a while now, but I'm saying that usually means that there has been some sort of agreement very early on that we're going to take care of each other. We got each other's back. We're going to make sure that, this thing moving forward, it's like James is the visual guy, he drives the van, whatever the initial sort of conversation is.
Sure.
There's always that kind of thing where this guy's good with the money. This guy's good with that. Is it very collective that way? I mean, I've looked at, when it comes to the songwriting and whatnot.
It has evolved to that, and it's taken it probably started that way, and then it was sort of a blessing and a curse that one thing was born out of a separate writing trip with me and Scott, and it created a new scenario of what happens when two people write a song when we're a 5-person band?
Sure.
I guess the two people that wrote it. So it, in a great way, incentivized everyone to be like, all right, I want to write songs, and I want to be we all got to be a part of this. So that ended up sort of instigating everyone actually writing more in order to make it a collective.
Sure.
In order to be able to argue that, hey, how we can't do that again, because we all do it, and that ultimately is the truth. But in a way, it took that song to do that, and that song wouldn't have been a song if we were all together. It's a great set of steps, but it gets us right now to where we are, where it's just even across the board.
Yeah.
So, and what about? I just want to ask James, what about the other factor of the producer and the guy that has to capture your ideas and maybe has a great sense of, melody and song and production, because you guys have had some great producers work alongside you.
Yeah, we early on we realized that hey, if when we work with Arnold Lanny, he was early on at the beginning of Finger 11, he was the guy, and he was really involved, and he's a great songwriter, and he taught us a lot about. In a way, he helped us define what Finger 11 could be versus what Rainbow Butt Monkeys was trying to be, kind of thing. And I think we saw instantly the value of the outside sort of wrangling of our energy, and was this we need this. So in the beginning, it was sort of, it doesn't matter the cost. If it's better, and he's saying that he's writing the song, but really he's helping that. But in this song, he's writing that part, and it all balanced itself out. And we saw if it's better, fuck, let's do this.
Sure.
Are we gonna say no? We don't want to do that. We'd rather make we want to make a worse record because we don't want to pay we don't want to pay the price. So and then we worked with Arnold 2 records, and we felt, and probably we were right, that okay, we learned all the Arnold tricks, so we got to go somewhere else and work with somebody else. And so then we went with Johnny K in Chicago, and that was a whole it was awesome because it was a different guy, a different experience. It was holy, this is cool. We thought we knew, we thought we had graduated from this, the studio school, and we had just graduated from Arnold Lanny. And then I was oh, it's different with Johnny K. And then the second record we made with him, that was even more different. So it just sort of sets in that it's always going to be evolving, no matter who the producer is. But I think maybe you were asking more about having, we've never been shy about letting someone into the process if we thought it's going to be way better if they do.
Right.
But at the same time, we're really shy of that because, I don't know, we're just insular and we like to do it ourselves. We're more inclined to fuck around on a computer trying to figure out how to make a piano play a part than to hire a piano player to come and play on our record, because we want to do it ourselves. I don't know why. But
well, it's fun to learn new things and experiment. And if you fall on your face, you have no one to blame but yourself. But then you've learned from it.
But usually you make a mistake. That's the coolest part of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've kind of always made the joke of you kind of, you spend your career trying to rip off your idols, and where you fall short, that's what your sound is.
Totally.
It's like the fact that you just didn't quite get to Pink Floyd, that's your sound.
Yeah, exactly. Not quite Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that deficit, that's your sound.
That's totally true, though, because people will say that to you. They'll say, well, I was trying to do this kind of thing. And you'll go, oh, I could kind of see that now, but it doesn't sound like that because it was filtered through that person. And they created the whole new unique thing. Yeah. And then,
and the different, like 5 guys in the band are all pulling it in different ways. You're
totally
like, even if you said all of us, let's make a song that sounds like Blondie. Everyone's got an opinion about what Blondie sounds like. You just
totally,
it's
including Blondie.
Yeah,
including Blondie. Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of bands earlier, but what would that sound be for you? What would be that you talked about? You know, if you're looking to be your idols, like what was your
the Beatles. Influence? The Beatles was for sure like first kiss of really like, I guess, music, and then
did you find that yourself, or was that from your parents that you discovered that? Or
my parents, they're from Liverpool, so they.
Oh wow, that's right. Yeah,
it was, I think, a bit of hometown pride, and
sure,
it's just undeniably awesome. But
that's funny. It's funny because like Liverpool hometown pride, that's like it's not some random band from like Kelowna, BC or something like that.
And then my dad's record collection was like it was hallowed ground. Like in the living room of our house was the room like the kids weren't allowed to go in.
Oh wow!
And in there was the record player. And so one day I snuck in and I put on Led Zeppelin 4.
Oh boy!
And the time drop in Black Dog, where the like like the drums go off from the guitar and they, I thought that I broke the record player, and I just instantly I stopped the music, I put it away, and I crept, like dusted my prints off it and just got out of there. It was like that. I had this from the very beginning of that record with the backwards, that little instant with it. It was a mystical, charged moment that it was like. That's the first kiss of the record player. Like, so Zeppelin, Beatles, Pink Floyd, like it was a good childhood record.
When did your parents leave Liverpool? Did they come to Canada? I guess.
It was like 73, I think, 2 years before I was born. So
they got to experience that kind of.
I guess so. Yeah.
While they were there. Yeah. That must be some great stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty an interesting vantage point to sort of be a contemporary with, like, they were the same age.
Yeah.
I think of the Beatles as obviously older than me because they're like, they seem wiser as well as they literally are older. But imagine they're just like the dipshits down the road. And they're like, like, look at what they did.
Yeah, exactly. They just changed the world. That's all.
Did you guys see that picture that went viral a couple of weeks ago? That girl in New York City that was just kind of happened to be taking a selfie, and Paul McCartney happens to be right there in the background.
Oh, that's
wow!
That's
Google
amazing.
that, and it kind of has the crosswalk right there too, so it kind of looks like the Abbey Road shot.
That's amazing.
She had no idea that until she got home, and I guess was looking at her phone to post it, that it was Paul McCartney in the photo. It's just
what?
That's awesome. You think he does that? You think he just lingers around like a striped crosswalks, like just waiting for?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, man! I just happened to be walking by.
Interesting.
Well,
Your accent. Your accent is perfect.
Winnipeg, yeah.
That's a good Liverpool accent right there.
I was going to say, was there a time in your
around
youth when you actually had an English accent?
I think whenever we used to go and visit in England, it just like it was almost embarrassing to say. Like you just started to adopt it. It was like, what's happening to me? Like I'm changing the inflections of my words just because I'm in England for 3 weeks. But so when we were young, I think just that feeling of like you want to belong, but also when I was young at parties, like hearing the Liverpool accent and then Scottish accents, Irish, like listening to grown-ups talk was so fun. It was just
I bet.
like drunk Scottish people just like, you know, talking politics and saving the world at like 2 a.m. and just, you know, listening through the crack as a little kid. Like just
you still have family back there?
Yeah. There's still a good chunk of them. I don't know if they live in Liverpool anymore, but other than, I think my one uncle, who fascinatingly enough lives in the same house that my dad's whole family grew up in. And
oh, wow.
Over time, it's absolutely filled up with books about the Civil War. Like not hyperbole, like book hoarder kind of thing. Like,
oh, wow.
He's got like, his house is a pile of books.
Wow.
I'm dying to go there.
I know.
Visit it.
I'm dying to go anywhere, but
that's true.
But are you? So is the whole band basically based in the Southern Ontario area still?
Yeah. Rick just recently moved a little farther out of the city, and I haven't been there, so I don't really know how far it is.
So you're all pretty much in Toronto, except Rick now?
Scott's in Burlington, where we all grew up.
Okay.
It's sort of spread out from there, but
that's so funny. I always admire the guy. Well, like, no, you didn't grow up in Winnipeg, Darren. I was going to say, it's always interesting to me to grow up somewhere and to live there as an adult is always interesting to me, but because that did not work out for me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I wouldn't have picked Winnipeg if that was the case. You know, it's like,
well, you don't like 48 below?
No. Yeah. But so it's kind of cool that, was there ever a call of like, we should go to Hollywood or we should go to, you know, that never happened?
No, not really. Like we definitely acknowledged when ever we got interest from an American label that was like, we would prefer that because it was a bigger deal. But the idea of like, oh, if we moved there, then that we would guarantee that was like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a deal just because you have the 90210 zip code. Yeah,
I think if we had ever contemplated moving anywhere, it might have been like Florida or something where we had met like a sort of scene of bands. But LA, it was fun because of like the Rainbow and those like Lemmy's at the fucking trivia machine and Judd Nelson and it was fun because of that, like kind of stargazing but I don't know, like I guess
well, you didn't have to because your career was just fine staying where you were. That's why. Yeah.
I don't think I could thrive in like it feels like too much pressure. Like it's just everyone looks so good and it's so like it's so out front that like
everybody smells good. It's so annoying.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a competitive.
It is, yeah. 100%.
Base for like I don't know. It's different than Burlington. Like if you have blue hair in Burlington, like you did it. You're the one guy who's got blue hair. But you go to LA and it's like, well now I need something more than blue hair.
I think you would look great with lip injections, James.
Yeah.
James. So it doesn't cost much down here, and you'd learn to adapt.
In fact, it'd be weird if you didn't. I think they'd be like,
well, I don't know if you can even tell. Like underneath
exactly.
mustache here, I have collagen for sure.
No, I know. I think it's kind of the admirable thing about you guys is that I don't think any of us would really, you know, have chosen to leave necessarily if we could have had careers you know, based out of where we were, and the fact that you guys were able to, I mean, that's what's fascinating to me is the fact that you guys have been together since you were kids and basically live, you know, you could drive to your hometown in an hour and be like, you know, I think that's awesome. I think it's great that you guys got to do what you wanted to do the way you wanted to do it and achieved great things. I mean, you know, some Junos, you got some like movies are in soundtracks or songs and soundtracks and stuff like that. That's an amazing thing. And to have achieved it just like some guys from Burlington, it's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just got to do so much traveling that it never, it always felt like there was no reason to go too far from home because like I don't know where else would there be to go back to then? Like,
well, let's not. Yeah,
we spent all our time in the States, really touring around for years and years and years, and it almost seemed like if we moved there, then when we were off the road, we would be in a strange place. Like there would be no home. It would be
exactly.
So I think
let's not kid ourselves, because Toronto is such an amazing center to be. I mean, it's such a, it's got everything, and the scene there, especially when I think about the '90s going out to Toronto, it was just on fire. You know what I mean? It was like, with much music being centered there, it really sort of created this sort of energy that was really important.
We probably thought it would sustain forever. Like, it was such a heavy energy going on.
It was, yeah.
It's sad to see all the venues closing there now, though. I mean, it's crazy.
It's weird.
And like I was talking about, like with the Lighthouse thing, like Much Music, because it was TV, it was across the country. Everyone's favorite song was the top of the same chart. Like, it was, it had this, like when you toured across the country and you had a song that was like number 2, number 3, number 1.
Yeah.
It mattered everywhere you went. It was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't know. It was sort of a validating chart. The experience, the energy, like, oh my gosh, Much Music is really a lightning rod for like a whole scene.
I think that's really left a giant hole in that scene, because it galvanized everybody, whether you were in Vancouver or St. John's. You know what I mean? Everybody was aware of the same stuff, so that whether it was an international act or a Canadian act, it didn't matter. Because we always talk about that. The band Toque we put together was based on the idea that we didn't really care that Streetheart, or didn't, but you don't care that Loverboy or Streetheart or some Canadian band, you didn't really designate that being that different, because they were on the radio with the Rolling Stones and with whoever, you know what I mean, AC/DC. So to us, it was just kind of like, it's all awesome, you know what I mean? But the fact that we've learned that, and the very reason we do this every Tuesday is, this sort of like appreciation for Canadian music that really has its own flavor and its own great thing,
Yeah. I think like we just happen to be in the right era for it. Like the Hip being a really giant flagship for a whole thing that never really made it past the border. Like it sort of solidifies like that there is a Canadian sound, and then there's just a whole world around it. It's we're super lucky to be like all those summer festivals in a row, like every summer having a giant festival to be able to be on, like for what, 5-6 years in a row. Like, that's fucking crazy.
And that's great to see you guys had that kind of success in the States too, because you think about some of the bigger bands in Canada, like the Tragically Hip, and you go past Buffalo and it would be, who are you? I mean, even some of these huge bands out of Canada that just never really broke in the US. I mean, it's great to see that, bands.
But it was bands like Finger 11 and I guess 3 Days Grace and Nickelback, when it really kind of, that changed the Canadian scene too, because it became like, these bands can actually, step out. Like, we're my generation of bands, like the Moists and all that kind of stuff. We were all doing great in Canada, but we never crossed over. We never had that opportunity. When we watched you guys suddenly cross over, it was like, it makes it like, this is possible. And not only is it possible, it's tangible. You know what I mean? It's there.
Yeah, it is really a trip that, like, I guess because we never did move down there, that even some of the success that it had, we didn't even know because we just weren't there. So sometimes even to this day, you get places that like, Paralyzer is still like cranking there. You're like, it's fucking weird that just anywhere that's not around home, think your music is living on by itself here and there and everywhere, and you're just like oblivious to it over here. What's some of
the best, like, non-Canadian asking you a question about Canada that you've had? You guys live in igloos?
I see. I guess we probably have had those kind of.
I can't think of any myself, but I used to get them all the time. I remember being in like at CBGB's, we were playing in New York City, and this girl showed me her Voivod tattoo. Oh, you're from
Oh,
Canada?
nice.
She pulls up her pant leg, and she has a voivod tattoo. And I'm like, wow. I go, usually it's Rush or something. But I was like, wow,
Corey
voivod.
Hart.
Okay. Yeah, Corey. But no, I just love those questions because you just
I don't know.
random, like, I know a guy in Montreal. Do you know him? No,
Yeah,
that's like 3,000 miles away from where I live. Yeah.
There's definitely that. There's definitely that.
I love that.
And then just sort of like simple questions, like not quite like, does Canada have electricity, but like those kind of things. Like, do you guys have cable there? Or
Exactly.
like,
I hear that one.
yeah.
Totally.
You know what's
yes,
interesting and
yeah.
actually kind of okay is sometimes in the States, they don't know you're Canadian. And then when they find out, it's like denial. Well, Finger 11, well, we hear them on the radio here. Like you guys get airplay still everywhere. I know in the States, I live in Vegas and we hear Paralyzer regularly. But to down here, sometimes it's like, well, they're not Canadian. Nickelback's not Canadian. Come on. And we are always defending a lot of Canadian talent too, saying, no, that band's from Canada. And they're like, John Candy, originally Mike Myers.
Oh yeah,
come on. Actors
Justin
and
Bieber.
musicians. Yeah.
Justin Bieber, yeah.
We get really
Weeknd,
selective.
he's not Canadian.
Yeah,
So.
Celine Dion. Well,
We
but
just
yeah,
had a
great.
Canadian on the Super Bowl. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I
the
see
weekend,
that.
yeah.
Oh, is
The
that
Weeknd.
Yeah, I didn't see or partake in any Super Bowl-ness, so I'm
Me
a little
neither,
bit out of
but
touch. I don't say that to brag. I just am very out of it.
How about
Me
hockey?
too.
I'm not really sports
Not a
driven.
sports
Like I'll
guy?
watch,
No.
like many things. Hockey's a good reason to drink with your friends.
Okay. But you did
Well,
admit
that's
that
true,
you did admit that you like Star Wars. So let's go there for a second.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, man.
How
Yeah.
about the sequels? Tell us about that.
You know what? In varying degrees, I love it all, and I'm sort of like, in a way, a Star Wars apologist. And I like, I read like the expanded universe novels and the comic book, and I collect the old figures and stuff. Like, it just really, it's almost embarrassing.
Yeah, but how bitchin' is the Mandalorian? Let's talk.
Oh,
about that.
it's amazing. Yes, it's phenomenal. Like, they really hit the tone of like that old clunky, kind of like what you guys were talking about, like CG versus not. Like, I think what people really love about Star Wars is that mixture of it's still kind of clunky, like a guy in a suit, but it's really slick, like something you've never seen before. So the Mandalorian does that, I think. Like, you can almost see the blue screenness, but only enough to keep it Star Wars. Whereas like when you go back to even Jar Jar Binks, like it looks like a cartoon. It doesn't look real like it did when it first came out. It was like it even though
Not many people go back to Jar Jar Binks, so it's okay.
See, that's what I mean. Like in the details of the movie, The Phantom Menace, I'm not really a fan of the movie itself, but if that has to be part of the Star Wars story, what happens in The Phantom Menace is awesome as far as the story of Anakin Skywalker.
And Darth Maul has got to be one of the coolest villains.
Darth Maul's cool. All the lightsaber scenes in those prequels were quite
Liam Neeson's character is great. I thought Ewan McGregor did an amazing job.
There's so much that's really great in there. It just executed really bad or really not what everybody wanted or something.
Bad script.
I heard that kid that played Anakin Skywalker got bugged so bad he quit Hollywood altogether after that movie.
Oh, well, he's got some like schizophrenic problems apparently.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe the Jar Jar.
Things didn't go well for him, but I'm not sure it's all Star Wars.
But I really enjoyed. My favorite parts were the long Senate meetings. Those things were really great.
Well, like, see that's the thing where I like. It's not. They pick the wrong things to dwell on in telling this big long story where you know what I'm going off the deep end here, but
I appreciate
what we do.
When we were young, Star Wars was Luke Skywalker's story, right? It was he was like us. He was like a kid who wanted to get into the big world, and then holy shit, he saved the universe, the galaxy. But then the prequels make it that it's Anakin Skywalker's story. It's like it's Darth Vader's story. So the old original ones they're as good as they always were, but they're different in the arc. and
they are.
It's cool to like. It's cool to see it, like something that you know inside and out. Like I've watched those movies so many times, but
Yeah.
when they made a new movie and it changed everything about this old thing that I already know, it's clever. It's
well, here's a question for you.
like
though,
the
because
Rogue
there's
One.
probably,
That one.
there's probably a reason they started at episode 4. Do you think that if they would have started from 1, that we would have even seen 4? Do you think it would have been such, as big as it was? I mean, there's,
I don't know. I don't know how they would have executed. Well, with the technology he had at the time, I don't know what Phantom Menace would have looked like. That's an interesting concept. I've never thought of that.
Because I'm sure there was obviously a reason where they looked at it and said, okay, here's where the story starts. This is where we can go from this, right? I mean,
it's amazing to consider that he had these sort of like 9 epic stories to tell and decided to focus on 4, just thinking like, well, we'll make this one, and if it does well, then we can make another.
I would like to know what
and somebody would tell you, oh, there's 3 before this. You're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because it says episode 4
exactly. But when you're whatever 8 years old, you don't pay attention to that. You're just like blows your mind to think that there's 3 movies or books or whatever ahead of the game here, and you have no idea. But
well, now they're going like 200 years prior to that with this new, like the High Republic is a new series coming out. It's like.
It's going to be all Senate meetings. It's like watching Canadian Parliament.
Like it's like there's peace in the galaxy and that's it. Yeah.
Like when is this gonna? You'd be like fast forwarding. When does like the
where's the lightsabers?
Somebody got up. Oh.
Yeah, somebody got up. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like
as a kid, there'd be like some sort of like Canadian Parliament. You'd be switching around. Like when I say switching around and go, who watches this? Who's watching this?
Yeah.
Okay, so would any of you guys support canceling the sequels and redoing them?
The sequels, like Kylo Ren,
like Last Jedi and Force Awakens.
I honestly feel like it does. At this point, I just kind of feel like it's time to just move on. I mean, I think that I'm very nervous that they kind of like, hey, the Mandalorian's doing great. Let's do 50 more series. You're like, whoa, slow down. Let's try one. You know what I mean? Like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, they're gonna do a Boba Fett series. And they're gonna do an Obi-Wan series, and I think in a way it's great because it'll fill out all, like they can make it. They can fix what everyone hates about the sequels if they.
Well, I hope so. But not everybody is going to be a Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of Dave
Filoni is definitely like the future of like the grand scheme. Everything he's done has been really compelling.
Epic. Yeah,
like
sure.
Thrawn, that character Thrawn is like, he's one of the best Star Wars villains there's ever been. I cannot wait for them to bring him into.
He only exists in the books, the after books, right?
Yeah, he's in the Rebels show, but he needs to be like, he could be a whole franchise. Like, not that I would even want that, but just he's a formidable villain, just like Darth Maul was, but they kind of didn't use him that much. But
well, he seemed like a big sci-fi guy. Was that somewhere the Finger 11? Is that any draw from that at all, or is that?
You know what? A lot of my sci-fi stuff made it into my solo record for sure. A lot of the lyrical.
Well, I was referring to the name, like the Finger.
Oh, Finger 11.
Yeah, or is that like a Princess Bride thing? Didn't that guy have like 11 fingers too?
That's awesome. Only just recently watched that for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. But
it's great.
Yeah, Finger 11 was like. It was sort of like the concept of if you had a finger in your forehead that pointed the right way, and so you could take all your 10 fingers and say like, I'm going this way, but if there's one in your head that's like you can't ignore it, that's like, fuck, I know I got to go this way. Right, so it was sort of just a following your own direction kind of idea, but it's so wordy and pretentious to say that. So.
One Direction was taken too.
What probably wasn't at that time. But.
At the time that we changed the name, it was kind of fitting because they were discouraging it. Like we wanted to change our name, and they said like, no, that's a bad idea. We spent like a year and a half pushing Rainbow Butt Monkeys, and
wouldn't that be funny though? Like to be 45 in a band called Rainbow Butt Monkeys.
Yeah, I think that was our big worry. It was like as soon as we realized that we could actually do this for a living, we thought like, oh, we should pick something that will age better, maybe.
Hmm.
But and also we like I was saying about the dry tour, like we were taking it serious. Like the name just didn't measure up to like, no, we're doing this for real now. So it was angst, but probably a good idea in hindsight, especially in the South.
It's certainly proven to be the longevity of it. You did the right thing. You followed that 11th finger apparently the correct direction. So I'm excited to see what is next. What is next? I mean, let's we've kept you for too long, but let's close out with what's coming up.
Like I said, we have new Finger 11 songs, and it's really about figuring out how it's going to come out, and then how we're going to be able to support it, and I don't know, do concerts like what we do, what we love to do, and yeah, it's really that, just like trying to stay active, make new songs, and we have been locked out of our 20th anniversary of Grace of Blue Skies. We weren't able to do any shows last year, so
I know, it's so
we're
crazy.
sort of like hoping to extend that to be like, it's still the anniversary that didn't really count. So
20th anniversary, that's crazy. Yeah?
So
I know, it's amazing.
So I've been working on, like I said, some animated stuff that's cut to some acoustic stuff we've done of the Grace of Blue Skies. That was
Great.
Be sort of a commemorative thing, and then the rock tunes, the new Finger 11 stuff is like, it's like high octane Finger 11. It puts a smile on my face for sure.
Very exciting. Well, that's great. I like everybody. We're all that's one of the weirdest things. So what's next? And everybody's like, well, we want to do this, but we'll see.
What's next? Yeah.
I know Canada in and of itself is supposed to be kind of like fairly vaccined up by the summer or fall, as far as I know. So
I don't know.
So that might change some parts of the game.
I just hope, just want the kids to be playing with each other again, and then
I know
I'll go back to making music. It's not impossible. Obviously, technology exists to do it. It's just like,
it's just weird to do it that way.
Well, like if I was young and single, the lockdown I would fucking love it. Like I love not seeing people and just going into my own brain. But when you have a kid in a house, and it's not your own time anymore. So now you're locked in with like grade 1.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to read again. That's good.
I would imagine you can always call up your uncle if you get short on books.
There you go. Yeah.
I've been managed to stay creative. I've been working on a script, and I've been writing songs, and like,
good for you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's just whatever. Keep the hamster wheel spinning.
That's an inspiring. You're an inspiring cat. I appreciate that.
Well, I suppose you have to read it to see. Maybe it's total dog shit.
Well, hey, either way, you wrote it. That's important. I think.
No,
That's
it's fun.
Your time.
It's fun. Again, like because I have such a visual sense. Like I started to write songs, sort of as my dad was sick, and my dad passed away, and the songs came in this order that seemed to almost be like a concept.
Wow.
But then as I kind of ran with the concept, and then the songs kind of fell by the wayside, and the concept was like, oh, I could probably make a script out of this. And so it's funny, I keep going back and forth to the music of it and the script of it, but it's all born out of just the same thing. It's cool. It's rare to have a real focal point in life that you can write about, and if you're a writer, so when you're trying to say something, if you're not saying it, it because it's not fulfilling. There's something about it. So something as touching as the process of like just losing a parent and all that, like it's so focused that when you're coming short, because it's not making you either embarrassed to share it or wanting to cry or whatever. It's when you're faking your own bullshit. So
absolutely,
it's been good for that to sort of get raw about, like, I don't know, just writing. And
Well,
like,
and it's a universal experience, whether you've been through it yet or
Yep.
not. So I'm really sorry to hear about your father. That's
oh yeah,
too bad.
it's so it's so inevitable that it's part of what's weird about dealing with it. You're just like, oh,
I know.
like you never ever got told this wouldn't happen, so
no.
you can't. It's hard to justify being surprised or anything, but no matter how prepared you are, you can't prepare for how it feels. It's just
Of course not. Yeah.
but even that, like trying to say that and maintain it in your song without getting all fucking cheesy. Yeah, baby. It's,
Right.
it's hard. It's it's the reason why amazing songs are amazing songs. You just like, how to resist everything but what it's really about.
Right. Well, it's like that whole thing about like, having songs that hit you in the head, songs that hit you in the heart, songs that make you dance. If you can do all that in one song, you're really onto something. I mean,
Oh, shit.
And they exist. And
Yeah.
you're always like, wow, I mean, how did this person pull this off? And they were probably 23 when they wrote it. It drives you crazy. You're like, wow,
Yeah, like I think Neil Young said like "Old Man," that song.
Yeah.
Like, he's like he's like, I couldn't write that now. Like
Yeah,
you can
of
be
course
an
not.
old man and write about an old man.
No, yeah.
But yet he sounds like he's wise. But what, he's 21 or something. Like
I know.
I think too. Like when you're young, you don't second guess yourself. You think you know it all, so you say like bold stuff that like sometimes it happens to be right, and you look like a genius.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I also say the same thing about like English second language. Like some of the wisest stuff you'll read will be guys who don't even speak English, or they speak English but they didn't grow up. They're naturally German or something like that, and they write these lyrics, and you're like, who the hell? How do they come across this? When it's like, I struggle with English, and I'm English.
Yeah, like it's distilled down to be only important, even if it doesn't make literal sense. It's like, shit. I guess we all get too good at bullshitting if we know it as a first language.
There you go. And probably too I don't know, just we become too scared to say what we want to say in the right way sometimes. Yeah,
it's really hard. But
all right,
fantastic.
Yeah, what a weird note
like
to leave it on.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I think it's actually because I think that your creativity is the most apparent thing about all of it. And I think I think it's quite inspiring. So I think you should that's what we'll walk away from this on.
No,
None of us are doing enough during this thing because he's writing scripts and shit.
That's right. We gotta step up our game, boys.
Being a parent, it sounds like somebody's calling you upstairs there.
Yeah, I gotta go. He just came back from the park.
Dad, where the hell are you? Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we want to thank you for coming on, and
thanks for having me. Yeah,
it's been a blast.
Anytime.
We will see you guys next time.
Absolutely.
This will roll. Todd, looks like you're going out there locked up too. So
yep.
We'll talk to you guys later, and everybody have a good one.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
Thanks. Take care.
You're the best.
Everybody. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You too. Take care.